What if all the bees disappeared? Imagine waking up one day, stepping outside, and realizing something is off. The usual hum of bees, completely gone. At first, it might not seem like a big deal. They're just tiny insects, right? But in reality, the disappearance of bees would trigger a catastrophic chain reaction that could collapse ecosystems, devastate food supplies, and even threaten human survival. Bees are one of the most important species on Earth, acting as the key pollinators for countless plants, including many of the crops we rely on every day. If they suddenly vanished, the world would start to change, fast. At first, the effects would be subtle, but within just a few years, entire ecosystems and food chains would start to crumble. The first signs of disaster. A silent spring bees pollinate about 75% of the crops we eat, including apples, almonds, cherries, blueberries, coffee, cucumbers, avocados, melons, and countless others. Without them, the first thing we'd notice is a huge drop in fruit and vegetable production. At first, farmers would try to compensate. They could attempt to pollinate crops manually, using tiny brushes or even robotic drones. But this is slow, expensive, and nowhere near as effective as nature's little workers. Food prices would skyrocket, and some fruits and vegetables would become luxuries only the wealthy could afford. Over time, many crops would fail altogether, and store shelves would start looking emptier and emptier. People might turn to artificial substitutes, but real, fresh food would become scarce. Ecosystem collapse, a domino effect. It's not just about human food. Wild plants also depend on bees, and if they stop getting pollinated, entire ecosystems would start falling apart. Without plants, animals that rely on them, like birds, deer, and rodents, would struggle to survive. This would lead to mass starvation among herbivores, predators dying off due to lack of prey, entire food chains collapsing, from insects all the way up to large mammals. Over time, forests and grasslands would thin out. The world would become less green, less diverse, and much, much emptier. The economy takes a hit. The global agricultural industry relies on pollinators for hundreds of billions of dollars worth of crops. The disappearance of bees would mean massive job losses in farming and food production, economic collapse in countries that depend on agriculture, a worldwide food crisis leading to riots, social unrest, and even political instability. This wouldn't just be a problem for farmers. Every industry connected to agriculture, from food processing to grocery stores, would be in trouble. Even restaurants would struggle, with many common ingredients suddenly becoming unavailable. What about honey? Forget about honey in your tea or on your pancakes. Without bees, honey production would completely vanish. While this is a minor issue compared to the collapse of agriculture, it's still another sign of how deeply connected we are to these tiny creatures. Beyond honey, other bee-related products, like beeswax, used in candles, cosmetics, and skincare, and royal jelly, used in health supplements, would also disappear. Entire industries would have to scramble for alternatives. Can we survive without bees? The short answer? Maybe, but it would be a struggle. Scientists have experimented with robotic pollinators, but they're expensive, inefficient, and nowhere near as good as real bees. Hand pollination is an option, but it would require millions of workers and still wouldn't come close to replacing bees. One possibility is switching to crops that don't need pollination, like wheat, corn, and rice. But this would mean a dramatic change in diet. less fresh food, fewer nutrients, and more reliance on processed grains. Malnutrition would become a serious global issue. A world without bees. The bigger picture. If bees disappeared, it wouldn't just affect food. It would reshape the planet in ways we can barely predict. Here's what else would change. Fewer flowers. Many flowering plants rely on bees. Without them, landscapes would become dull and lifeless. Harder to grow medicines. Plants used in traditional and modern medicine depend on pollinators. This could impact the availability of life-saving drugs. Climate change acceleration. With fewer plants, carbon dioxide absorption would decrease, making global warming worse. Can we save the bees? Luckily, bees aren't gone yet, but they are in danger. Pesticides, habitat destruction, and climate change are all major threats to bee populations. But there's hope. Steps like reducing pesticide use, planting more wildflowers, protecting natural habitats, supporting local beekeepers could help prevent a future without bees. Final thought. A world without bees is a world without us. Bees may be small, but their impact is massive. If they disappeared, it would set off a chain reaction that could push humanity to the brink. We might survive, but the world would never be the same. So the next time you see a bee buzzing around, don't swat it, thank it. Because without them, life as we know it would be impossible. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating stories about history's greatest figures and events.